I don't know who needs to hear this today, but there are people in your life whom you can rely on. People in your life whom you can trust. Chances are at some point in your life you have either been betrayed or at the very least felt betrayed by someone you believed that you could trust. It might be that there has been someone in your life who you believed would stick by you regardless of the circumstances, only to have that individual disappoint you at some critical point in your life. And yet, despite that, there are individuals whom you can trust and in whom you can rely on. John Fawcett was born to poor parents in 1740 in Yorkshire, England. Due in part to the ministry of George Whitefield, Fawcett was converted at the age of 16. And then 10 years later, he became an ordained minister in the Baptist Church. His first ministry position was at the very poor, very impoverished church of Wainsgate in northern England. While he was there, his salary was very meager and his family began to grow. But Fawcett was a very charismatic minister. He was very well educated, very knowledgeable. And as a result of this, he began to be noticed. He began to be recognized. And over the course of time, he was eventually called to serve the well-known Carter's Lane Baptist Church in London, England, succeeding the very well-known Dr. Hill. On the last day that he and his family were going to be at Wainsgate, surrounded by saddened parishioners, Fawcett's wife declared, "I cannot bear to leave. I know not how." Fawcett's response to that was, "Nor can I either." And he ordered the wagons to be unloaded. Fawcett would continue his ministry at Wainsgate until July 25th, 1817, the day that a stroke took his life. In 1811, though separated by an ocean, Brown University in the United States of America conferred upon Fawcett an honorary Doctor of Divinity degree because of all of his work throughout his life for the church. Fawcett was also a poet at heart, throughout his life having written several hundred poems. And not long after the decision was made to stay at Wainsgate, Fawcett delivered a sermon, and in that sermon he shared one of his poems. It is a poem about the love and the loyalty that he felt for the Wainsgate congregation. The poem was set to music in 1845, nearly 30 years after Fawcett's death. But what was this song? What was this poem that really defines Fawcett's love and loyalty for the single congregation that he served his entire life? Take a listen, and I'll be back.
Blessed be the tie that
Fawcett's love and loyalty to the Waynesgate congregation should be commended. He is an example to all of us about the love and the loyalty that we ought to have for our family, for our friends, and yes, our own congregation. There are times in life when people may disappoint us. They may not be there for us when we feel like they ought to be. They may let us down. In a worst case scenario, they may even betray us. But in Proverbs 18, we read that a man with many friends comes to ruin, but there is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. I do not know if this is a messianic verse or not. There are many who do say that the second half of that verse speaks not to our fellow man, but rather to Christ. But one thing that we do know for certain is that the Word of God tells us that yes, there is one, a friend, that sticks closer than a brother. And during those times when we may be feeling lost and alone, when we think that we are isolated from others, we can also be reminded of the words of the Lord, quoted by the Hebrew writer in Hebrews 13. I will never leave you, nor will I forsake you. May we always be grateful. May we always give thanks to God for His abiding faithfulness, for His love, and for His loyalty. I've got nothing but big love for you. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.